fantastic modeler is going to take this a little bit further than what I had intended, I think, as a designer. So just to give you a little bit of background, my name is Nick Masney. I'm the owner of ITLA Scale Models. I'm coming to you this morning from the factory, the world headquarters here in Dorchester, Ontario. The structure that's in front of you and that you're going to work on was originally intended to be a kit that was used in a joint build contest with miniprints.ca. And if you're not familiar with miniprints, I encourage you to go have a look. Bernard has done some fantastic stuff with his 3D print offerings. So he wanted to have a collaborative build contest, and he was looking for something small enough to have his audience create a small diorama using the ITLA structure and his mini prints, and that's how this thing was conceived. But the second half of that was a conversation that I had with George some time ago. George was interested in something small for exactly this purpose for the WOD clinics. So with that in mind, I thought, what a great opportunity. We had an opportunity to satisfy both needs. And so off I went into designing this little structure. And it was basically an 8x10 little Lineside structure that's a bit generic. It's a cross between a CPR and an ACR, Algoma Central Lineside shed. And was intended to be just a loosely created structure that would fit anybody's railway. And I wanted to keep it simple. So the fun and the challenge was to make a simple build out of it, obviously to hit an attractive price point. And lastly, to try to fit a number 10 envelope so that I could mail the kit out individually. So that was another little challenge and a little constraint with respect to the size of the carrier sheets and the instruction set. So that being said, the parts can be easily painted as I've described in the instruction set with rattle can spray paints or hand apply acrylics or stains, whatever your favorite painting technique is. So it's versatile, and I hope with its tab and slot construction, you'll find it easy to build and easy to square up. So again, want to say thanks to you guys, and again, thanks to George. We're going to see how he takes this to another level with his creative vision. So I'm looking forward to watching, and I know I'm going to learn a bunch of stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. Thanks again, gentlemen, and George, I'll turn it back to you.
Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that. Okay, I'll go back to share my screen again. Okay, so to begin anyhow, you have to kind of decide what color you want to paint your shed. If you're just going all one color, similar to this one here I did. This is my first build. I just went with a boxcar red or a Tuscan red, which is standard for a lot of railroads. The windows you can repaint to a different color, but this is probably the simplest way. And the other thing you have to think about is, do you want the doors to be opened or closed? So that's something to think about prior to getting started. As far as removing everything off the sheets, I found imagine that kits are maybe some of the easiest to pop out, whether you're doing these little ones or the big ones. I find the big ones you can just push with your finger and the parts pop out really easy with no damage at all. But I usually go on the back side, just give it a light push with your X-Acto, and the pieces come out really well. If you cut through it and it hasn't popped, and go on the other side. But I usually find just a little bit of pressure on these little spots here, and you're in business. One good thing is the instructions are short, but there's something maybe you should read through at least once. I don't normally read instructions. I've built so many kits, I just look at the parts and the plans and I go along, but I did read these instructions through. They were short, simple, and it'll help you a bit. One of the pictures, I kind of blew this up here. So when you do assemble it, if you're not painting it first, you just glue 2 walls at a time, do the joint first, and then glue it onto the flooring, and then glue your other 2 pieces and push them in. And that works good. I usually don't put my windows in till later. but that's up to you what you want to do. So here's my first little shack. It's or Lineside shed. Everything's assembled, nothing's been painted. I actually just pushed that window in, it's not glued in. And I put the beam across the top for the roof to set on. As I said, I leave the doors off and the windows out till I'm done, because I was modeling it open. And as I say here, it's a good time to decide whether, if you're going to do it two-tone, it might be best to, paint the structure prior to putting this trim parts, all these trim parts on. I leave the windows and doors out. We're going to cover that part different ways. I've got about 4 different ways that you can do your windows, which kind of makes it a little more interesting. And these leftover pieces, these are all the parts that you pop the window and the trim off of that are on the sheets. You almost can make another structure out of it. Maybe by next clinic, I'll figure something out and I'll show you what you can do with them. But don't throw them away. All those parts and this doorway piece, this is just your just for your hinges that pop out of there. I think you can make something out of that just by playing around with it. As far as coloring goes, so the one I'm building today, I actually cheated and I got a bit of a head start. So I used Anita rust red for the walls and AK neutral gray for filter for the floors, and then everything got a coat of India ink and alcohol. When I put the paint on, I just kind of cover as much as I can. I'm not too worried about whether it gets in all the little grooves, because you don't want a lot of water on it because it'll start warping. And your alcohol, you want to keep it to 70% or higher. You don't want to really use 50%. So you can see here the floor is totally done. You can see the little spots in there. You see a bit of white, and you might be tempted to put some more paint in there, but I would just put one coat over everything, let it dry, and then just go over it with India ink and alcohol. Now this part of the flooring, you can see it's got India ink alcohol. This part just got the AK wash. You can just go with the India ink and alcohol altogether, but I just felt it gives it a little bit more of a woody look to it, a weathered wood look to it. I normally use Flocal paint, but I thought I'd show you something that's available still today to get. Flocal you can't get anymore. I normally use Flocal Tuscan for structures like that, but I went with an acrylic red to just something you can actually buy today. And there's the alcohol in the ink going over top of the wood pieces once it dried. It dries pretty quick, so you don't have to wait too long. Now on my structure, I mentioned earlier that I'm going to make my roof removable. So you actually have to kind of build it up as a little as a assembly. So basically what you do is you can see there's a bit of a 45 there. You want to sand this one side down on both so they go together, and then you want to use these the barge boards here to glue it onto so it all stays together. And then I just put the ridge beam in through the middle. One thing that you don't see on there that's eventually going to get on there is I'm going to put all the rafter pieces in for the roof. So inside for the interior, I'm actually going to model mine with the doors closed, but the roof will come off. So I kind of got this idea from what I saw in Pat's model. He's building an old scale one, Pat Brevard, and he had put all the bracing, and I thought, geez, that's a pretty good idea. That just adds more detail into the interior. And if you're trying to build it for an AP program thing, the more details you can add, the better. Even though it's a small structure, if you can add a lot of detail to it, it really adds to it. So like even in the rafters, you could probably put a pigeon or a bird in there for it, extra interest that got in there. And this is 2x4. Now on one of the videos I watched that interior was added, he used 2x3s, but I've got 2x4s, so that worked. I did make a mistake that I noticed when I was looking at Pat. I didn't add the pieces across the bottom on that. So I went back and and added that in. Now I've only got 2 of the walls done like this. The other 2 have to still be done today, but I thought I'd get started just so you could see. And that's just again the same color, India ink, and there's a bit of AK product on there. And you can add some powders, you know, whatever you have available that you do. Now this is the other wall, the front wall. So if you're going to do the door closed, like all my other ones were open, is this bottom section, it's all attached very gingerly, but what you want to do is put your bracing in, don't cut it out, just trim the edges and then set it in, glue it in. And that'll hold the whole, all your interior together, and then just add the rest of your trim around the edges. So if you're gonna model your line side shed with the doors open, these are the 3 that I've done, and you want some interior detail to show out. So you might want to consider, are you going to put a barrel or, you know, some newspapers and, you know, some signages on it. Another thing I've added was a chimney on one of them. It's just made out of a scrap piece of styrene. That's actually a Tichy spear. Excuse me. And oh, I got leave. Yeah. So and the same with the windows. Like you can see, I've painted some of them up on this one. You don't see it, but on the sides, they're all brown. And I've changed the roofing on these. I used some of the leftover sheeting, and I cut roofing out. But you can easily just take this roof and flip it over and add tar paper. If you're interested in seeing how I do tar paper, I did it for the WOD guys back in the fall as a little mini clinic. But I can show you that next week if you decide to go that route. But I really like the looks of the shingles. I'm using the shingles again this time around. And the doors on this one were actually made out of some of the leftover sheeting that there's a lot of extra material left on the sheets that you can make doors and roofs and whatever else you need. So, okay. And if you want any of the signs that I have, kind of an afterthought, I did send them to some of the guys. But if you want, like, there's a thermometer on here, the signs, and some newspapers, I can mail them to you if you're not the WD. WD guys, I'll have a bunch of them for you at our Chatham meet in the spring. So that's about it for now. That was a short little thing. I didn't want to spend a lot of time. I wanted to give you as much time that you can modeling. If you have any questions, please let me know. And we're going to run the second PowerPoint, and that'll be at 11 o'clock. So I'll give this back to Paul. You're on mute. You're still muted there, Paul.
Thanks. Sorry about that. I'm just looking into the chat to see if there are any questions at this point. Nick did send out a message to everyone. So if you don't have your chat open on your screen, I'll just read it out. Nick was responding to George's comment twice, that there's lots of extra material. And he said, gee, why didn't I think of that? Maybe the extras for the trim could be tool shed number 2. So George, we will wait with anticipation to see what you come up with in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, I'll see if I can figure something out to do with those parts by February, because I've actually, this is my 4th kit, so I've got a lot of extra pieces, but you never know.
Yes, and let me add my appreciation to your thanks to Nick Masney and his wife Renee for their support of the Western Ontario Division. And also wanted to mention, as you said, Normand has contributed a PowerPoint presentation that we'll look at 11 o'clock on this build. But we have a number of members from both the St. Lawrence Division and the International Division with us today. So really glad to see that we are networking within the NFR as we seldom can do in normal times, thanks to the technology, in this case of Zoom. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining us, and we appreciate your participation. And as George said, we're interested in everyone's feedback. We would certainly like to extend and continue this kind of series. It's an idea that we borrowed with compliments to the SLD. The focus really in the Builder series is going to be on the skills that we can master and develop, whether we're beginners or intermediate or even advanced modelers, that will help us to perfect our skill. So the focus is on skill building and working in some cases toward an AP versus the kit itself. So these will be at least two-parters, we expect. And we would like to continue and kind of move to more advanced or difficult levels and different kinds of things that we would add to our layout, not just buildings, but we can only do that if it is of interest to people like yourselves. So if you enjoyed today's program by 11:30, certainly we appreciate your feedback. We appreciate your suggestions, and spread the word. We've got 23 people online today. But we certainly have capacity in our contract with Zoom for many more. We have one question, George, that's come in from Ken. And again, I'll read it out for those of you who don't have your chat open. Do you stain the inside at the same time that you paint the outside to prevent warping?
Yes, you can do that. I normally try to stain and paint both sides. I found that these don't really warp all that much, so I think you should be okay. But yes, if both sides are wet, usually that stops it from warping. And if it does warp a bit, it does straighten out as it dries, so you shouldn't have any problems there at all. But yeah, usually if you're thinking of building it just as a structure that's closed, the way Nick has in his instructions, then I would just put something like underline stain on the back side of everything, and then assemble it and paint it if it's one color. If it's two colors, then figure on your coloring. And if you're doing your doors as closed and that, maybe leave your roof off till the part 2, because we'll give you a couple ideas of how to do the windows, and you have to be able to. If you pop the window all the way through to be able to get it out. If you got it as a sealed box, you're not going to get it out. So possibly leave, maybe the back side of your roof, at least one side of your roof off, so you can get inside there.
Thanks, George. As well, I know you're going to say a few words, just we're closing off today, about what's going to be happening in part 2. And there's going to be a guest presenter that will talk some more about ways, different techniques for aging and chipping paint and such. And I find that that's easier when you don't have the roof overhang in the way. But you'll say more about that later, George, I know. We don't have any more questions at the moment. And a big part of today is to be able to work away on our kits. So George, unless you've got something additional to say, I will start up the slideshow again, and we'll come back online at 10:55. Any last words, George?
No, not unless there's any more questions. I'll monitor the screen. If there's some questions as you're assembling, I'll answer.
Okay, thanks so much. I'm going to start up the slideshow now.
Hi, Paul, your sound went on your presentation.
Thanks, George. I've been trying to get back to the main screen just to see what has come in terms of questions from people. And I was also trying to get the sound turned off. Question came in from Ralph. What is everyone using for glue? George, you're on mute.
Yeah, I saw that. I answered that on the side what I was using. Weld bond today. Normally I use canopy cement. I also asked what kind of stain.
Your instructions that went out ahead of time too.
Yeah, it's just, I guess guys are curious. We had a couple answers there in the chat. Grant's using yellow carpenter's glue for years with success. I asked what paints and stains the guys were using, and underline stains or Valero paints or is what Ralph had mentioned.
What's nice about using weld bond, for example, and canopy glue is that when they dry, they're clear. And they're also, certainly in the case of weld bond, it's impervious to water. The problem with carpenter's glue or yellow glue is that when it dries, if there's any that has gone beyond the joint, you are going to get a bit of coloration or staining. Otherwise, I use carpenter's glue for a lot of my layout building. Ralph was also saying, in case not everyone could see it, I couldn't get to the chat at my end because of the screen share that I was using. Ralph was doing somewhat what I've been doing. He's stained the wood first to age it, and then he's putting his colors over top. And George's comment back was he's using canopy glue, likes how it dries quickly. And again, that was part of the suggestion that went out in the handout that George had prepared that everyone would have received with their link to today's meeting. So judging by the numbers, I know that everybody got it. We still have the full complement of 21 on board. Good to see that you're all there. Any other questions? We still got about 5 minutes or so before we said we'd restart the program. So I'll leave the channel open so I can monitor what's happening on the chat.
We were supposed to have about 25 today. I got one gentleman, he's down in Florida right now, and I guess he had better things to do on a nice day than sit in, but he's gonna be back for our second part.
Better things to do than join fellow modelers?
His trailer is having some renovations done, so they were, he has his Harley down there, so they were doing a bike tour today.
Project management, understood.
Right, and I believe there's a couple guys that have other people sitting in with them.
Oh,
So
great.
there might be a couple more than what we show on the screen. Gary, I think you had somebody that was gonna work with you, but now with COVID, the guys might have decided to do it at home. Peter Mumby was supposed to be with me today, and we were gonna have another guy, but with COVID the way it was, we decided to just work from home.
Gary, just a comment. Could you go back on mute, please?
Me?
Gary, yes, thank you.
I'm on mute.
Lower left hand. No, you're not, Gary. You look at your screen, lower left hand corner. Okay, you're on mute now. Great. Thank you.
We have Peter Hawking working with us today. He had mentioned having a second working with him also. So we might have a few guys working together.
Only the brave. Just have a comment coming in from Ken Leyland. Said he's using Canopy glue, Underline stain, and Craftsman acrylic paints. Malcolm Vant, out of the SLD, he's coated his walls with Tamiya fine surface primer in red oxide color. The windows and trim are Vallejo paints. George, it's just coming up to the hour. Do you have any last comments before I start in with Norman's PowerPoint presentation? Well, I'm not hearing back from George, and I'm not sure if he's still online. So, gentlemen, I'm going to start in, and George will come back in once I'm finished with this PowerPoint presentation. So just let me share my screen, and we'll get things underway. I hope your builds are going well. Mine's a little slower because I'm juggling a number of things at this end, but I'm making some progress. Don't forget, before February the 5th, we would very much like to see progress on your builds. So as we said in that slide rotation, and I hope you took a piece of paper and jotted down the proper email address, if you could send to me at the superintendent at wod-nmra.ca address, 1 to 3 photos of what you've been working on today and the intervening weeks. Please include your name and any brief description that you'd like to add. And what we'll do is we'll put together a PowerPoint program, and George and I will start things off when we are next together by reviewing what everybody's been able to achieve. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my share up. So here we go. So Normand Levert, who is a member of the St. Lawrence Division, kindly sent in a PowerPoint presentation on what he had been working on prior to today's session. So I'm just going to read through things quickly for you. He first read all the instructions, and that's a great bit of advice. I know I went through and picked up a couple of tips, as well as going through the material that George kindly put together. So I would recommend those handouts highly. Certainly, George answered a couple of the questions that many of you were asking in the chat. Normand goes on to say he stained the kit with micro mark age at easy 80073 gray. He stained both sides to prevent warping, and he put pieces on a paper towel with weights pressing on the parts, just in the possibility that things might curve a bit. He dry brushed boxcar brown on the exterior walls. It was an old bottle of polyester, he said, that required a bit of water and a lot of stirring to mix it up. Windshield washer fluid also works, I've found over the years. The result was a stiff paint that dry brushed unevenly, and you can see the examples of that in the picture here. He was aiming for the tops of the walls being in better shape because of less exposure to the weather. He used the boxcar brown on the shingle roof as well. And after painting, he reinserted the pieces in the carrier and let them dry under weights. He then used polyscale boxcar brown. He used, to me, a flat dark green to add some weathering to the shingles. And at this point, they will need more treatment, but he's going to experiment with a couple of things, I gather. He thinks the gloss appearance was due to washing with alcohol. He decided the trim color was a good match to his faded boxcar brown, but it's in too good a shape. He tried fading the trim, with gray chalk, but brushing it even with a steel brush gave a bit of shine to the trim as well, he discovered. And this is a good close-up that shows the aging, fading effect that he was getting with the dry brushing. He then discovered that the reverse side of the trim was actually quite a good match for the faded boxcar brown, and it is also a very flat finish. Yeah, he decided to add back bracing to the freight doors giving him the option to have them partly open or closed. The next thing was to install the glazing and the window frames. And as George has said a couple of times, he's going to say much more about that later today and certainly in part 2. So here are the 3 windows. The one on the right has the frame installed correctly, while the other 2 have the frames installed backwards, as were the Z braces on the doors. So Norman is kindly showing us that sometimes mistakes occur during a build. He braced the front of the doors. We may end up with some door repair, he says, with a sheet of plywood. The fun is to recover from your mistakes. And thank you, Norman, for sharing warts and all the progress on your build. And again, encouraging everyone to please share what you've been able to get accomplished on the kit. And if you could submit no more than 3 photos with a bit of a write-up by February the 2nd, that'll give me some time to put together the presentation for February the 5th. Just before I hand things back to George, Malcolm Vant also updated me just as our program was starting today. There is no specific date yet for the NFR convention, which the St. Lawrence Division is going to assemble and host for us, but it is likely to be in May or June of this year. More information to come. George, if you're back.
Yeah, our internet went down, so I've been playing around trying to get it working again. So I missed most of what you were doing there, but I'll just ask a couple of guys questions, see how they're making out with their kits. Just keep working away, and I guess we'll be back at about 11:25. Excuse me, I'll have a couple more slides and just to finish off the day. Are you here, Peter? Peter Mubby? You'll have to unmute your mic.
Did that work?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Just
good.
wanted to know, we've built a number of laser kits, but you haven't built one in quite a few years now. How are you making out with this one?
Yeah, it's been a while. Oh, well, I'm slow, but I've got some staining done and some removing of parts, and I've read the instructions.
Yeah,
Not an awful lot of progress to report.
yeah, okay. So
I'll have to do my homework.
a little bit of homework. Actually, these kits aren't all that bad. Normally, my first one that I built, it took me good part of a morning and a bit of the afternoon to complete, but it is something you can actually complete one day. So I figured between the two, our part 1 and part 2, you should be pretty much done. I just was curious how you were doing. Another guy I was going to ask was Ralph. How are you making out with your kit? You can mute yourself again there, Peter.
I'm almost finished.
You're almost finished. Oh, good.
I couldn't wait. I started playing around with the chipping paint deal, which I have, I did it totally different from what the kit's supposed to be. So I don't know what to tell you. I can share some photos if you want, but I'm pretty well done, except for putting my doors on and some touch up paint on the roof. One of the things that, what's that?
Ralph, please do share your pictures with us between now and February the 2nd, and we'll include them in the PowerPoint presentation.
Okay. One of the major there's 2 major changes I did to the kit. The ridge beam that goes across from point to point, I shaved it down and put an arch in it, so it looked like the roof was sagging. And I don't know whether you can see that. It's
Yeah, we can make out about the presentation Paul had going. We put your photo in that you sent me, and we'll actually use your other the wax paper for making peel paint in our second section. That'll be one of the presentation. run.
That was the other, that was the other
Nothing
major change. And I just basically added it to the outside of the kit, the extra boards.
Great,
So,
great. Well, we'd love to see it once it's all done for maybe our second time around.
okay.
Okay, I'll ask one more guy. We'll go with Malcolm Vant. We'll put you on the spot. How are you making out, Malcolm?
Yeah, just unmuting and showing my face. So you can hear me okay?
Yeah, you're coming
Okay.
through good.
Yeah, I've been, I decided to put interior bracing in after I watched that little video. So I've been busily cutting up the little pieces, which scale 2x3s are rather tiny. So yeah, I've already painted the outsides of the pieces, and I stained the roof with a burnt umber and an alcohol wash. I did find it started to curl up a bit, even though I did both sides. So I put it between two blocks of wood and a clamp on to keep them flat while they're drying, and they seem to be flat now. So I painted the windows. I'm doing CPR colors, so a creamy yellow kind of color for the window with a darker brown trim around it. So I've done all the trim colors before I started assembly. So once I get the bracing on the wall, to be the next, well, actually, I'm kind of tossing up whether I should do the windows first and then put the bracing on the wall, or vice versa, because they suggest to put the sides down flat and press the windows in. So I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, the windows pop in pretty good. Even
They do.
if you got our four walls together, you can push them in very
You don't
easy.
have to push very hard.
No, and if you do, you just sand it a little bit. What'll catch will be the plastic on the backing. I'll show you a few different ways. Like one thing I did on two of my buildings is I boarded up one of the windows, which is kind of a different approach. And then one I did as the windows is being cracked, the glass being cracked. And the third one is you can actually cut that and splice it and make it so it's an operating, well, it doesn't operate, but it looks like it's opened up. So, but I'll show you that at the beginning of the next one. So that's something you can, think about anyhow.
Okay.
Okay. One other guy that just came to mind is we should talk to Pat Rivard for a second, because Pat's doing one in O-scale. Now, Nick made one kit up in O-scale. That might be something you'll offer down the line to other guys that are O-scale modelers, but Pat sent me some pretty interesting pictures, and I was just wondering how you're making out there. Maybe we'll have you discuss what you did in our next presentation, but you can kind of give us a quick run by.
Well, George, I think I kind of jumped the gun and built the whole thing and got ahead of everybody, but I enjoyed doing it so much I couldn't stop.
Well, that's a good thing.
I do have some pictures of the doors open right here. Can you see it okay?
Yeah, it was coming through pretty good.
Yeah. And I did the interior. Added the doors so they open and close. I widened the doors. I put a wood stove inside, put a man doing his job. Added lights. I like adding lights to every building I do. I also put a meter on the outside, because you can't have lights without power. Added some signage on the outside, as you can see.
Very good.
Anyway, added some shelving inside. I don't know if you can see it very well.
Oh, I saw that it shows really well in the pictures you sent us. We're going to be running your photos in our second part. Now, you actually shingled the roof also over top of the.
Yes, I did. George, I found the shingles to be a little small for the O scale, but that's all right. It's a first run for Nick to do. So I told him about it, and I think what he's going to do is maybe leave the roofs plain, and you can put your own shingles on, or he may supply shingles in O scale for you. I don't know yet, but I did add shingles to the top of each and every one of the two roof lines. And you see, I also have a chimney on there and a couple of dirty old birds doing a thing on it.
Very good.
And then I added little magnets to the bottom of the roof and on the inside on the framework, so that what you do is you just put it on there afterwards. And it's on.
Very good.
So I'll show you how to do that sometime. Anyway, that's what I got.
Thanks for sharing, Pat.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll let everybody get back to work, and probably in about 10 minutes, we'll get together one more time and have a little bit of a talk.
Just before I turn things back over to George, if you want to check your chat stream, there are some comments from Nick Masney, which would be of interest. Certainly the test run that Pat got involved with, Pat Rivard, has paid off in terms of some ideas. Pat, I hope you have clicked on the chat so you can see Nick's response. George, turn things back over to you. George has just let me know by text that his internet is down again. I'll try to fill in on some of the things that George and I had talked about when we did a dry run earlier this week. Part 2 of the program on February the 5th is going to feature Ralph Renzetti from Toronto, who's going to walk through a number of weathering techniques. One he's already made some reference to today, and that is a method that he's been developing using wax paper for selectively peeling off paint to give you a weathered look. And we'll also be running the photo presentation of what you've been working on. And of course, we can't do that unless all of you are willing to submit some photos. We already have some from Pat, and I've invited Ralph to send in some as well. I hope that you took a pen and paper and wrote down the email address so we get your material. And I will have to cut off on the evening of February the 2nd, so I have enough time to assemble everybody's material. On the 5th, what we're also going to be looking at are different ways of treating your windows, additional details that can be added to the kit. And that's what I can remember off the top of my head. And I'm sorry that George is not here to wrap things up for us. Are there any last, I'm just scanning the chat very quickly to see if there are any other comments or questions that we've got from people that George has not responded to yet. And it doesn't appear that we do. So on behalf of the Western Ontario Division of the NMRA, just wanted to thank all of you for joining us, and a special thanks to Nick Masney again of ITLA for the company's support for this build project. Again, we're interested in your feedback in terms of whether this has been helpful and beneficial. Again, our focus is not so much on the kit itself, but using the kit as a way to develop and share new skills and approaches to modeling. And we'd like to do more of it, but only if it's of interest to you and others. If you found today's program enjoyable, and we are running it again, of course, all the registration for this 2-part session, we're calling it the Builders Clinic, using the ITLA Lineside shed. Registration for this, of course, is closed. But if we're doing it in the future, we hope that you will get the word out and encourage more people, not just in the WOD, but from all the divisions to participate. Our particular contract with Zoom can handle up to 100 people concurrently. Today we have, just check the numbers again, 23 online. So good to see a great turnout, but if we can add to it, no additional cost to us. We're happy to have the community of modelers together, and appreciate seeing members from both the International Division and the SLD on today's program as well. Just seeing a few comments come in from others. Great to have so many of you here today. With COVID in particular, the Omicron variant so easily transmittable. We hope that you are all being careful in terms of your public and in particular your indoor activities. My wife and I just came back from seeing family in British Columbia, and we were extensively not just double masked, but remember, if you're out with a large number of other people for any reason, an N95 mask is what protects you. Cloth masks really just protect others from ourselves. It's the N95 mask that you need to wear. And if you do, as I reminded a friend this morning, remember good healthcare practice. If you have an N95 mask on, please make sure that you don't touch the outside of it and then touch your face. It's the filter that's preventing any viruses that might be in the air around you from getting into your face. So if you touch your mask and then touch your face, you're defeating the purpose and the functionality of the N95 mask. And an N95 is not for reuse. In these times to protect yourself from a virus, as soon as you take it off by taking the elastic bands and pulling it away from you, you should dispose of it immediately. Good protection. And George is back with us. So George, I ran through the Part 2 program as best as I could remember, but feel free to just wrap us up. We've got about 1 minute left.
Okay, I'll just, my computer went down again. I'm not sure what's going on here. It's the second time today. I'll go to screen share, and I had two extra slides here. Let's see. Was there any more questions that anybody has about today, or everything's going along pretty good?
None that I could see, George.
Okay, and well, get it going the right way here. So I don't know if you covered that again. I was missing, but if you have any photos to send them to Paul, and we'll include them in our Part 2. And in Part 2, we'll look at some options of weathering, and we might have a couple guys chirp in there about what they've done on theirs. Obviously, we've got 2 that are pretty much finished, so that'd be kind of good to look at their photos and hear what they have to say. And I'm gonna see what I can do with my leftover pieces, if I can come up with something. Maybe Pat and Ralph can come up with something too with their leftover pieces. I'd be interested to see what they come up with. So and that's about it. See you next month for Part 2.
Thanks so much, George, for leading us through all this. And one more time, thanks, Nick, for your company's support. We really appreciate it. Thanks, everyone. And we'll see you on February the 5th. Stay healthy.
Bye now.